However, if you regularly take advantage of all these provisions that we've considered that Jehovah provides, you will never become a helpless victim of fear. So don't give up, rejoice in the hope, endure under tribulation. For the next few minutes, I would like to interview two faithful servants of Jehovah who've experienced fear in their lives. Brother Matthew Grajeda and Sister Kelly Nofer. First, we have Brother Grajeda, a young baptized publisher. And so we want to ask you, what specific fear has at times challenged you?
The fear that challenged me in my service was fear of man.
She's been baptized for many decades, so she's not a novice in the truth. But what specific fear has at times challenged you in your service to God?
There was a time when I had pioneered in the past, but now my circumstances were changing again, and I could pioneer again, but I didn't want to.
Not falling into the trap of fear of man. If you think about it, fear of man caused the apostles to abandon Jesus. It was divisive. So we don't fall into that trap. And one thing that can really help us is to recognize what fear of man is tantamount to. It's really tantamount to fear of Satan. Because any human who tries to get us to compromise Bible principles really is an agent of Satan. So if you fear that person, you're fearing Satan. We don't fear Satan. We hate him. We oppose him.
Hello, everybody.
Howdy.
Welcome to our home.
And our brand of insanity and our shock and mock, right?
I'll tell you, last week was just insane. Mike was gone to his yearly Mountain Man reenactment, trade show, whatever you want to call it, rendezvous. And of course, as usual, all hell breaks loose here at home. You know, and like many of you know who are on my Facebook, I lost my dear Dargo Husky. And we also lost our video editing program. So thank you so much, dear friends, for all of your help, you know, with your donations, you know, and gifts to help me get a new one. So very much appreciated. So we're back up and running now.
Good.
And Gerard, thank you very much. He told me to get some more nails in the coffin with the donation he gave. So I ordered 450 more push pins. Do you think that will be enough until November 1st?
I hope so.
Well, so thank you, everybody.
Yes, and before we get on with busting Watchtower's chops regarding these scripted talks, I just have a little bit of
bragging to do.
A little bit of bragging I want to do. See, at these Mountain Man events, we compete shooting guns, knives, tomahawks.
Old guns, flintlocks.
Yeah, flintlocks, black powder
which
guns.
Aren't quite as accurate.
Hey now! Hey now! 30 yards, offhand, open sights.
Not bad. Not bad.
30 yards, offhand, open sights.
Not bad.
That's pretty damn good. I actually shot the best tiebreaker for the weekend, and that's what this was. But unfortunately for me, nothing came down to a tie. So this tiebreaker become null and void. But hey, it's still some pretty good shooting with a flintlock. Okay, now we ready to go on to this?
Yes, let's get going. As you heard in the opening clips, this is from the 2017 Regional Convention this summer, and this was the baptism talk. And many of you know about the 10-year-old given her experience, and many have done YouTube videos. But we're going to go at it and attack Watchtower from a different perspective on it, aren't we?
Yes, because you heard in the opening clip the script from Watchtower says, if you take advantage of everything Jehovah provides, you will never become a helpless victim of fear. But the point is Jehovah's Witnesses are helpless victims of fear. And we're going to exploit that in the next clip. But the reason why that we took part of the broadcast from my favorite little clown, Let, is because you heard him say what he said about fear. It's tantamount fearing Satan. And the whole thing about Jehovah's Witnesses and the Watchtower Bible Tract Society is that the only reason that these people remain loyal to the organization is the fear that has been inculcated into them. Because Watchtower says, if you leave the organization, you leave God. They're still captivated with this fear. And like Let says, you are fear of Satan. Well, wait a minute. If you're in fear of the organization, leaving the organization,
wouldn't that make them Satan?
That would make them Satan. Exactly.
Well, what I thought was interesting about the wording of this is he says, what is your fear?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it have been better to say what challenges in fact,
Yeah.
Mikey, for years they always used to say, what challenges have you had to overcome, to get to this place of where you are?
So here again, it just shows that these morons that are sitting down scripting this out don't even listen to what comes out of Let's mouth and making that connection that if you fear man, you fear Satan. And yet these morons that write this stuff don't even listen to their own broadcast. Because here's Let saying, if you fear man, you fear Satan.
If you fear the elders, then they are Satan and you fear him.
But see, the problem is the Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't have a choice. They don't have any choice. Obedience is not a choice for them, because it's not obedience because of love of God. It's obedience because of corporate policy.
Yep.
Exactly.
And that's what they're afraid of.
Yeah, they're afraid of breaking corporate policy. And unfortunately for Jehovah's Witnesses, this fear that captivates you, the fear that mandates you shun your family, brings nothing but misery and regrets. That's all it does. It brings misery and regrets.
Well, look at all of the videos we've watched on YouTube of someone going up to one of their literature carts and start talking to them, and the witnesses pack up and immediately run away.
Yeah, because they can no longer defend their faith, can they? No. That's why they have to run away.
Well, look at Kevin Bunker. My goodness, they see him coming, they run away with their little carts.
Yeah, exactly. See, and part of the issue here for some of us ex-JWs is that we might be a little fearful of confronting Jehovah's Witnesses on or in their territory, on their grounds with their little literature carts, because we all know that if we approach a Jehovah's Witness and we start talking to them, that some have mistakenly fed the ex-JW community that, well, you can't do that because that just feeds their persecution complex. Thank you. Yeah. And that's a misnomer, because this fear already dwells in their mind. Whether you approach them or not, that fear is there. So the question now becomes is that if you're advocating not approaching Jehovah's Witnesses because it's going to push them into their persecution complex, then I dare say fear dwells in your mind also. Okay, we ready to hear the next clip?
Yeah, this is
listen to this young girl.
This is actually, similar to the one we've already played. So,
if you regularly take advantage of all that Jehovah provides, you will never become a helpless victim of fear. Well, we have a couple of sisters that we want to interview. First, we have Sister Melody Thomas. She's from the Knoxville Northwest congregation. Melody is 10 years old, and she was baptized late last year in November. So I have a couple of questions for you, Melody. First of all, what specific fear has at times challenged you in your service to Jehovah?
Well, a specific fear deals with one of my sisters who is disfellowshipped, and she had contacted me before my baptism and was encouraging me to keep in contact with her. And even though I do miss her and love her, I know that if I didn't maintain contact with her, it would be difficult to stop communicating with her if I started.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. Now, Melody, how has Jehovah helped you overcome that fear?
Well, Jehovah has helped me cope in many ways. He gave me the courage to stand up to her and tell her that I couldn't communicate with her at all because I didn't want to hurt my relationship with Jehovah. And he also helped me with so much sorrow and loneliness and missing her. So growing my relationship with Jehovah through prayer and studying has really helped with this and all my fears.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that, Melody.
What I find interesting, Mikey, is with this questioning, it is almost like it's a propaganda clip and trying to instill the fear. Yeah. She's so afraid of her sister that she has to shun her, and so afraid of displeasing their God Jehovah that she has to shun her sister.
Yeah, and it's interesting too that, you know, the Jehovah's Witnesses are so trained to clap after everybody gives up and gives a little demonstration that they fail to recognize what they're really doing here when they applaud this young girl for her pleasing Jehovah by shunning her sister. What it really becomes synchronized group fear. That's why everybody claps when they hear group think, group fear, everything else.
Mob mentality.
Yeah, exactly.
All of the above.
Yeah, it's really a shame that these Jehovah's Witnesses cannot read the Bible with any depth of comprehension. I'm going to demonstrate that by reading a few scriptures here. When the Jehovah's Witnesses, as this young girl right here does, advocates the shunning policy, any Jehovah Witness that upholds that shunning policy, because as Son of Thunder brought out, it's manufactured by taking scripture out of context.
Well, even on Facebook, we're on some of the JW groups. In fact, I think it's jw.org on Facebook. And the Jehovah's Witnesses are just so rabidly trying to defend this clip of Melody, this young sister, and how the shunning is biblical. And I mean, it's almost laughable of, you know, how they're trying to twist all of this. And it's like, no, you're taking it out of context. Read that whole chapter.
Exactly. So I want to draw your attention to Luke 6:22. This is how they make a liar out of Christ. Because these words come out of Christ's mouth. Happy are you whenever men hate you, and whenever they exclude you. Oh, wait a minute. Doesn't the shunning policy exclude family members? Doesn't it exclude those that no longer want to, I don't know, take Watchtower's take on scripture, such as the shunning policy? Those that can read the context and say, hey, wait a minute, Watchtower's got this wrong. I think I'm going to go discuss this with an elder. No, you can't, because you're afraid to approach the elder. There's that fear. But see, Jesus said, be happy.
Because they know what's going to happen.
Because, and reproach you and cast you out. Because you know you're going to get cast out. So they make a liar out of Christ's words, because this organization will tell you that if you're not in Jehovah's organization, your life is going to become miserable. You might even go back and start taking drugs. You might even start celebrating holidays. Well, hell, you might even become an atheist or even agnostic. Watchtower has everything in place to let that family member think and believe that when you leave the organization, your life is going to be miserable. But yet, this is how they make a liar out of Christ, because Christ said, happy are you whenever they exclude you.
Well, look at that video that Watchtower did a couple of years ago, The Prodigal Son. I mean, he got into drugs and women and drinking and, I mean, gambling and who knows what all. I didn't watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, even to the point to where, you know, the police are chasing him.
Yeah. So again, they make a liar out of Christ's words. Now there's a cross-reference here, John 16:2, because we want to be really sure of what you're getting cast out of, Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, chapter 16, let's start with verse 1. He says, I have spoken these things to you that you may not be stumbled. In other words, you may not be caught unawares.
He's warning us.
He's warning us. Men will expel you from the synagogue. In fact, the hour is coming when everyone that disfellowships you will imagine that they are rendering sacred service to Jehovah.
Or shunning you.
Or shunning you. See, they're doing this because, see, they've been able to tie all this fear up with, well, you have to look at it as discipline from Jehovah. It's not discipline, it's inculcated fear is what it actually is. But see, Jesus said, I'm forewarning you, I'm telling you so that you will not be stumbled, you will not be caught unawares. That men will expel you from the synagogue thinking that they're rendering sacred service to God. And this is exactly what Christ was foretelling and warning against. This organization right here, because as far as I'm concerned, I don't know of any other organization on this earth that expels people from their kingdom halls, the synagogues, at the rate that these men do. And these men love what they're doing. In fact, they love it so much that they put this young girl up here to push corporate policy. And then everybody synchronizes their clapping.
Yeah. See? So what fear does she have I mean, why is this a fear to begin with for shunning her sister?
Well, okay.
It doesn't make sense.
Logic dictates. Since God is the creator of the human family, and God says that children are an inheritance and a blessing from God, then why does this organization take that blessing away from you, Jehovah's Witnesses?
Good question.
Okay, so another scripture I want to draw your attention to, Jehovah's Witnesses, is found at 1 John, chapter 5, verse 3. For this is what the love of God means, that we observe His commandments, and yet His commandments are not burdensome. Every single Jehovah's Witness out there that is shunning their family, a family member or friends, you are burdened down with this guilt. You are burdened down. So how could this ever have been a commandment from God to shun your family members? See, look at the burden that you place on the one that you're shunning. Look at how they feel. Did you ever stop to think how sad they are that you won't even acknowledge them any longer?
Well, you actually have to go through a grieving process. You know, both of us did. And it's worse than if they had died, because you know they're still alive and all you'd have to do is pick up the phone. So it's worse than if they had died.
Yeah.
And even the commissioner of the Australian Royal Commission back in March, he said it was cruel.
Exactly. So not only is this a false commandment from God, because this commandment is a burden, but Watchtower cleverly hides it as, well, this is discipline from Jehovah. No, this is a burden that this organization throws upon you people. And yet you read the same Bible I do and you can't figure that out. Think about it. It's because it's the fear that comes from Satan, who's really behind this organization?
Well, look at, when a mutual friend asked my mom why she was shunning my daughter and I, and she says, well, I have to remain loyal to Jehovah to make it into the new system so I can see, my dad again.
Well, but see, now making a statement like that, that's not a statement that comes with being a person of free will, does it?
No, she has to stay with the organization because she believes that if she leaves, she will not be able to see, my brother and my dad.
And there's the fear. 2 Corinthians chapter 3. I'm going to start with verse 15. Because Paul makes a very interesting note here. In fact, down till today, whenever Moses is read regarding the law of Moses, a veil lies upon their hearts. But when there is a turning to Jehovah, I have to use the New World Translation to make Jehovah's Witnesses think. When there is a turning to Jehovah, the veil is taken away. Do you Jehovah's Witnesses recognize how much fear those Israelites were under because their Pharisees were making legalized legislation out of the law? They became so fearful of working on the Sabbath that they even had to ask their Pharisees, well, how many nails do I have to have in my sandal before it becomes work? That's the fear. That veil kept them blind. Verse 17, now Jehovah is a spirit, and where the spirit of Jehovah is, there is freedom. One simple question. You claim you have Jehovah's Spirit backing and directing your organization. Then why do you have this young girl surrendering her freedom to talk to her sister? Because of the fear that you've indoctrinated.
Yeah.
You don't have Jehovah's Spirit. If you have to get this young lady up on this stage to talk about the fear of shunning her sister.
Well, it all boils down to also the fear of Watchtower policy.
Yeah.
They are afraid to talk to those that leave.
Exactly. It's really amazing to sit back where we are now and to look and see how much fear captivated us. Because for a time, we were in that same boat.
Yeah.
We were afraid to question things that didn't sound quite right. We were afraid to not get our 10 hours a month, weren't we?
Yeah.
But hell, we weren't afraid to turn anybody in when we saw them doing wrong.
No.
Encroaching upon their freedom. So anyhow, do we have another clip that we wanted to watch right here?
No.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it. Jehovah's Witnesses, the day will come when you will have to face your fear. And you're going to have to make a serious choice between Satan, who runs this organization through fear. You even heard Let say it. You've even heard Let say it. And now they're using that word, fear, in your summer program.
Openly.
When they should have been using, well, what challenges did you face? See, they're inculcating the fear all over again. And is that because so many people are leaving? Because that fear is dispelling? That fear is going away, Watchtower, because this YouTube community, all these XJW forums are showing conclusively how you have flip-flopped, how you have lied, how you have taken scripture out of context. I dare say that that's the reason why. Because people like us, we don't fear you no more. You may have my mother, you may have her mother, and you may have thousands of others captured by fear.
8 million.
But we escaped your fear. And when we escaped your fear, we escaped the fear of Satan.
And we ain't going to take it anymore, are we?
Nope.
In fact, the clip you're seeing on my timeline on my video editing program, I'm going to put at the end because it's just something a little humorous that this is what happens when you approach a JW literature cart.
Yep. So thanks for watching.
Yes.
And we'll catch you next time around.
Thank you, everybody. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.